Kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Greetings, everybody. Just adjusting ourselves. So the absence of a fire for the fireside chat. I was kind of hoping there would be one this morning. Auckland having put on a tremendous welcome for me when I arrived up from Wellington. Thank you again for the opportunity to be at this conference. It's, I think, the third time I've spoken to the conference, but the first time I've come here as the Minister of Finance. And so I will just take a few minutes at the beginning to have a bit of a chat around where we're at in the New Zealand economy and where we'd like to go. But I'm very conscious of the fact that Corin's here and that being a household name, I don't want to keep him from you this morning. I don't need an introduction, but Corin's a household name. I reckon I've lost out in that little intro there. Where we are in the New Zealand economy today, I still believe is in a good place. The fundamentals of our economy are strong. We remain this morning, I see, still ranked top in the world for ease of doing business, a position that we've held for a number of years. We have, in terms of the government accounts, a strong surplus. Debt is at low levels relative to the rest of the world and relatively low levels historically for New Zealand. Unemployment is down. There is every reason to feel confident about the prospects of the New Zealand economy. Obviously, we work in a global environment, and the challenges that are facing our economy and the business community, many of them are drawn from some of the geopolitical concerns that you'll all be very well aware of. It isn't good for the New Zealand economy for there to be a tit-for-tat tariff war between the US and China. It isn't good for the New Zealand economy for some of the signals coming out from China in terms of the economy to be ones that are of a slight slowdown, although that's a relative thing when we're speaking about growth rates up above 6% in China. But there are concerns there about some controls on credit growth, and that obviously impacts us, but particularly that tit-for-tat tariff war, because for New Zealand as a small open trading economy, we need a rules-based system that works well, that enables our exporters to get out into the world and be confident about the markets that they're trading in. So we don't want to see that go any further. I can't tell you today whether or not it will. I'm not inside the Twitter feed that dominates much of that, but we do know that there is work going on within the WTO and elsewhere to try and bring that under a little bit more control. So those external forces will always bear on the New Zealand economy, but we can and we are in a position to be able to withstand them. And when I look around the city of Auckland, we've got building consents up 28% from a year ago. You'll be pleased to know there are 83 cranes on the skyline of Auckland at the moment. There is a crane index, you can look it up, but that is a sign of the fact that there is good things happening here. There is good activity happening across a number of sectors, and we should be confident about that. Consumer confidence is solid and stable. Business confidence is what it is, and we are still on track from most economic forecasters to say that we will average around 3% growth over the next 3 or 4 years. That is a solid result and one we should be pleased about. Our terms of trade hit a record high for any year in the year to June 2018, and the 2018 quarter was the second best quarter ever. MBIE's job ads data shows that over the past year online vacancies have increased by 7.1%, and the ANZ job ad series is 5% higher than last year. And as many of you will know, the NZX is up by about 4% after the August earnings season, all of which point to the fact that the fundamentals are strong. But we can and we should do better. And we do have those challenges of the international market and some other ones that I'll just briefly mention. But from our point of view, and the goal of this government is to lift the living standards and well-being of all New Zealanders, And to do that, we need to be more productive, more sustainable and more inclusive. We've got to modernise our economy for the mid part of the 21st century. And that means dealing with issues just as Richard's been talking about around the future of work and technological disruption, climate change and inequality. To me, those are the big issues and big challenges that our government has to face, and that's what we're working on. In terms of lifting productivity, and we can get into a bit more of this with Corin, it is vitally important we build those international connections up. It's why we're pushing on with a free trade deal with the EU, hopefully one with the UK. It's why we've got ourselves in a position to be able to sign the CPTPP. We have to build better international connections for New Zealand. But we've got to lift the value of the New Zealand economy. We've got to understand what it means to increase the complexity of our economy, because that's where we will drive better wages and better jobs from. We need deeper capital markets. That's where you all help. And we need to make sure that we're getting the signals right in our economy to get investment into the productive part of the economy. We've made some significant changes already around the Reserve Bank Act. We've got the legislation in place now that's expanded the objectives so that we do have maximum sustainable employment alongside price stability. And in the coming weeks, you'll hear about the tax working group's outcomes. Now, the tax working group under Michael Cullen's leadership has been beavering away, looking at the mandate that we gave them to create a better balanced tax system and to make sure that we've got a tax system fit for the 21st century. It does include work around savings alongside work around the issues that we know around capital income that I'm sure you would expect the group to have. We've got a period of time now between when the report comes out this month and when the final report is finished in February to look at the outline that the working group's come up with. And then, as we committed to in the election campaign, any legislation that we pass as a result of the working group, that won't come into force until the 2021 year, so the public will have its chance to have a say in the 2020 election. Those issues around settings are really important, just as are the policy influences that we can have by investing more in transport and infrastructure, in urban development, research and development, skills and training. All of those issues are critical to lifting productivity, and they are at the centre of our economic strategy, along with those sustainability measures. And for me, that includes fiscal sustainability. So we are sticking to our budget responsibility rules. We're managing the books carefully in terms of debt, generating the surplus that gives us the buffer for the rainy days that do come along from time to time. But also sustainability in terms of making sure we make the transition to be a lower carbon economy, that we ensure that we have the systems in place through things like our independent climate change commission to give some certainty about what a low carbon economy looks like in terms of emissions reductions and carbon budgeting. And then finally, in the area of a more inclusive economy, we have to do better to make sure that every New Zealander gets a chance. And it strikes me in any audience I'm in, be it a business audience or be it in a workers' smoker room, those issues around homelessness, inequality, educational opportunity come up first, because we all know that getting those things right are a precondition to being able to have a growing and sustainable economy. We have to be making the most of everyone's talents in New Zealand and giving everyone that chance and that shot at success that we all have been grateful to receive. So we did a lot of things in our early days in terms of child poverty and the families package along that line. And the other part of an inclusive economy that we don't talk about enough is making sure that the regions of New Zealand actually get a chance to be the full contributors to our economy. That's why the $1 billion Provincial Growth Fund is so important, that we actually grow those regional job opportunities and sustainable economic development. That actually is a critical part of an inclusive economy as well. So we've got a big agenda. It's based around the key idea of well-being, and we are going to redo our budget next year to focus on broader indicators beyond just GDP, to get wider measures of success around the health of our people, our environment and our communities, and understand as you are here, how we shape the future is actually by looking across all of those indicators to what makes for a successful and thriving New Zealand. It's a big agenda, but it's one that we're getting on with the job of putting in place. Thank you very much.